Hey class, this is Professor Young. I'm here with Josh Sexton, who has volunteered to donate some of his time so that he can share his experience with us. One good thing about Josh is that he was a KSU student. He graduated from the computer science program and he been through an intensive experience with Home Depot. Because of his outstanding work, he was extended a full-time offer and now he is a software engineer at the Home Depot working on enterprise solution. So the whole purpose of this conversation is that I want to ask him about his experience, the kind of work that he did to prepare himself for the internship, and the kind of effort he gotta put into during his internship just so he can land a full-time offer with Home Depot. All right, Josh, thank you so much for your
What's
time.
up? What's up?
So I really want to quickly start out by asking, when you were still a student,
Mm-hmm.
did you know that you want to work for Home Depot, or did you just blindly apply everywhere and whoever sent you the offer you would take it? Basically, what kind of research did you do to get an internship, and what kind of company did you kind of sort of want to work for?
Mm-hmm. So I need to clarify for you. I did not intern at Home Depot.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I actually interned at a company called SAP.
Okay.
It's a company that not a lot of people know about, but it's a very big international company. So they're very big in Europe,
Mhm.
very big in Asia, I believe.
Mhm.
They're kind of big here. If you watch hockey, you'll see them advertised there a lot.
I heard of SAP.
Do you?
They didn't they purchase Sybase?
They bought Sybase, so
Okay.
that's actually where I interviewed.
Got
I
it.
interviewed at. So I found out about that place through a friend of mine
Mm-hmm.
who he was working there at the time, and he had gotten hired on while he was still in college.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me that they do a lot of mobile development, and I was very interested in that at the time. So I immediately started in my free time, not in school because I wasn't at that level yet, but I immediately downloaded the Android IntelliJ IDE, and then I just immediately started trying to make a calculator, make a scrolling list, make a map app in my free time as something that I could show to somebody there, so that when an internship would open up, I could present that to them and do that, and even get an internship there. And I was lucky that I knew somebody there, so they were able to tell me what were things I should prepare for, or things that I should know how to do. And once I had my interview with the manager, I had this person's reference who I had gone to school with, and they knew that I had quality work, and I had projects to back up the work I was doing.
So pretty much then, again, it's coming down to building relationship, because you had good relationship with the person who happened to have a job there. He or she was able to prefer you to the open position when the rec was open. So I definitely know that relationship is very important. So make sure you hang out with the right people, so that if they have something good and you also been working with them, they know your work background, and for sure they wouldn't mind recommending you, because if you're not a good worker, if they recommend you and you don't perform, it's just gonna end up hurting their reputation.
Yes,
Right?
yeah, and I would also clarify, because I watched a lot of people do this too, who knew this person who recommended me. They actually just applied to the job, and you put him down as a recommendation without consulting my friend, and that was not a great way to get a job. It didn't work. It didn't help them get the internship. And so, talk to the person beforehand,
Right.
make sure the person's familiar with your work, and if they are not, invite them out to get coffee, or invite them out to get tea or lunch or something, and as a way to be like, hey, let's talk about this. We have a shared interest. We're studying the same thing. How can we build those bridges and find common ground?
Okay. So from all the work that you did during your internship, did it actually help to solidify your interest in computer science and wanting to pursue a computer science career path, or did it actually make you disinterested and figure out that instead of focusing on, say, mobile development, you want to do more web app development or backend development? How did an interest in system development grow within you?
So it's kind of interesting the path that I took, just because essentially I started as a QA testing intern.
Okay.
I was a developer intern, but I was testing a lot of mobile applications, and honestly, the knowledge that I had gathered creating mobile apps did not help me in testing them.
Okay.
And so I started from that standpoint of testing them, and I actually learned to hate mobile development through the testing of it. And it might be something I get back to one day, but it has like ever since that I kind of got a distaste for it. And then at some point during the process, my internship ran out there, but they liked me so much that another manager invited me onto their team as an intern.
Okay.
So I got an extension for another 2
Nice,
years.
nice.
Or another year, and then that was a more systems cloud-based setup.
Okay.
So that team was actually new to cloud technologies and cloud applications, and so they were just as I was learning about how to develop applications for Cloud Foundry or other cloud-based systems.
Okay.
And so that was how I got into it, and I started working on a UI in Node.js, which involved some system work as well. And from there, it was just kind of like I did everything I could to get myself more involved. I took on like as many extra tasks as I could, even if it was stuff I wasn't familiar with. I was in a good place because no one else was familiar with it either. So.
Okay. So how did you get here at Home Depot?
So Home Depot. So in the summer that I was about to graduate, I think that was 2016. So the summer I was about to graduate, my internship was running up, and they were I was trying to get on at SAP and find a job there, but they didn't have any open positions, so they kept trying to find places for me in the organization, but I didn't want to move out of Atlanta, and so essentially I heard that they were doing a massive hiring here at Home Depot, and I was like, I think it would be really interesting to see what they're doing. I talked to a recruiter, and I felt like this place was actually the place that I felt like I would have the most opportunity to learn new things, and that this company actually had a buy-in for my growth as an employee. So they were actively interested in me growing and me learning things, so that I could better perpetuate like the things they're trying to accomplish. And so I felt that at the time I was in, I wanted to just learn as much as I could, and I certainly have. I've learned a lot here, and I think that was what drew me into Home Depot.
Okay. Could you, if possible, share a little bit of your preparation for the interview with Home Depot?
Yeah, sure.
Maybe not the specific questions that were asked during the interview, but just the type of interview. Was it like a panel interview or group interview?
Yeah.
Or was it like whiteboard coding, or was it just like behavioral questions?
So everyone had a different experience as I did, and I think my experience is now what they are still doing right now. So it was a group interview.
Okay.
One of the things that this company cares about a lot is they value collaboration over technical knowledge, because collaboration and communication over technical knowledge, because you can be an expert at what you're doing, but if you don't know how to talk about it and you don't know how to work with others, then you're kind of useless to the team.
Right.
And you're not going to get as much work done. So my interview starts off with me meeting a group, and the first thing we do is we actually get a code scramble of Java code, and it was kind of like very basic Java code, but you could figure it out by just talking with the people you knew, and my Java skills were not great at the time, so I relied very heavily on my teammates, but we were able to effectively communicate, and you basically take all these lines of Java code that have been scrambled up and you put them in order.
Okay.
And so that's supposed to show that you have some technical knowledge of Java. You can at least know what a Java file looks like, and you can work with others to put that stuff together.
Okay.
There was a brief break in between, and then there was a whiteboarding session where we were giving a set of requirements. We had like 10 minutes to whiteboard out an application, and then we were told to present that application to the team, or to these people. And that was very interesting for me, just because I thought, so I was with a group of people, and when you're in an interview setting, I don't know if any of you guys have had interviews, but when you're in an interview setting, especially a group interview setting, people tend to be a little bit more competitive, so they might try to outshine you a little bit.
Right.
And I had an experience where someone tried to do that, but in the process, they were actually actively hurting everyone's chances of like getting a job. They were kind of talking themselves into a hole, and so it was a really good opportunity for me to step in and like kind of backtrack some of the things they were saying and help out the situation. And from my knowledge, I think everyone in that group got hired.
Okay.
So
Right.
it was just a good learning situation for everyone involved.
Okay. So now that you've been working here as a full-time employee for a while now, what do you say is the biggest difference between actually working for a company versus what you learned from school? In terms of getting the requirements from the customers and actually turning that requirement into something concrete via the software system that you guys are developing?
I think number one, the biggest thing that I learned well, in the process of this was sometimes your requirements are not great, and sometimes they're fuzzy at best, and sometimes and you have to go with that, and you have to run with that, and you have to figure it out. Your product manager or your business user may know exactly what they want to see, but the requirements they're giving you are very vague in your opinion, and so you can go about it a couple different ways by seeking clarification from them about what they want to see, or you can sort of like, you have to use your own intuition and your own knowledge about the business systems to find that exact requirement that they have. And sometimes the requirements are very simple and spot on, and that's very few and far between. Most of the time they're very fuzzy, and I think the engineering team has to spend a lot of time kind of figuring out what exactly is needed, and learning a lot of the business value. And also, the better you are at translating like real world situations into a technological situation or a technology flow, the more valuable you can be to a company.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay. So what do you say is the most relevant technology stacks that a lot of entry level or associate software engineers should know, as students who still in school, so that at least know or have an idea of what that is, that will actually be useful for them whenever they have any interviews?
Yeah. Number one, Java, obviously. Depending on where you go, Java is used in a lot of different places, and especially here, this place has a very long reputation of being a Java house, and so that's kind of evaporating a little bit, I think you would say, but there are still strong holds onto Java, so you can never go wrong in that situation, and especially enterprise Java. Node.js is actually getting more popular for API development, and so I recommend learning JavaScript. And I always recommend learning system languages. So if not C and C++, go learn Go. And I think those three languages together can give you a really good foundation for anything that you're going to have to deal with. Go is really good for if you have to write system level software. Not that happens a lot in enterprise software, but if you ever have to, Node.js can teach you some really good scripting fundamentals while also allowing you to write enterprise software. And then Java is just a good all-around language. Or Python. Python's pretty good too if you're looking to automate your life. So.
Yeah, I agree with all that.
Cool.
If you want to learn Java, I'm an expert at Java. Take my class for Java if I do teach it.
The other thing I'll say, I know this class is at KSU. I think it should still be there, but it's a class that's about like programming languages. I forget the number for it, but
it more than likely the very preliminary class, like where they learn about the philosophy and structure of the programming language before they actually have to take CSE 1301 or CSE 1302.
Well, there's a class where I think you build I don't know.
Where you build your own programming language?
You build your own compiler.
Yeah.
And you have to build a binary trees. That class.
Data structure?
Not data structure. You have to build a binary tree for the compiler to go down to figure out how to compile your code. Whatever. You can like put it in the video or whatever if you edit this. But it was a great class. If you have a good professor for that, like you're going to be really lucky. Just because I think that class can teach you how to learn any language. It's kind of just like basically it's like learning grammar when you're learning English. It's kind of like learning the grammar of programming. It breaks all programming languages down into their basic fundamental building blocks and shows you the commonalities so that you can essentially learn any language just by kind of looking through some short documentation. I think it's really good, so
right.
Pay attention.
Go find the class name for them.
Yeah, seriously, I'll find it later.
Alright, but that's all I have. Thank you so much,
Awesome,
Josh.
thanks so much.
And hopefully you guys find this useful. I'm going to try to interview more people to give us an idea of how the enterprise working. And hopefully we see more and more KSU students outside in the workforce. Thank you guys. Bye-bye.